Hello. Hi, it's me, Vicky Marie. And I hope you've all had a nice or are having a nice Sunday. If you're watching this video live now, it's Sunday. Where I am here in Spain, it's sort of early evening, 7 o'clock in the evening. So good evening, or good morning, or good afternoon, wherever you're watching from, whatever time you're watching it. Hi to the replay crew. Hi to everybody who's here. I'll be saying hello to everybody shortly. And in this video, I'm going to be looking at prepping. Do you know when you sort of almost wish you hadn't actually started something? Because I have looked at prepping before. Of course, prepping, in case you don't know, is, just getting prepared just in case of an emergency situation. So there could be lots of reasons for prepping. They're not all, dire, the world is ending type scenarios. Could be a simple thing like a really bad storm in your area, which there do seem to be more of now. And they hit us like sometimes we don't know they're coming, do we? And you get these storms and you don't want to, even if you could go out, you don't want to go out in the middle of a storm and buy a bottle of milk or, some tea bags or whatever it is. So it's always handy to have in, a certain enough sort of provisions, if you like, at least for a couple of days. You might be ill for a couple of days. You might not feel like going out to the shops or whatever. There might be an electricity outage or a water outage, or there's so many different things that might happen. They're the least serious things, but then of course it could be something serious, a war situation, or you could have to even evacuate. So what we're going to look at in this video, we're going to look very briefly at a lot of things. So it probably end up being quite a long video, but I'm just going to look briefly at things because as I started looking at everything, there's so much to it. And then I think what I'm going to do is some shorter videos, not lives, but actual videos, and put them out with all the different components, because otherwise it's too much to take in all in one video. Anyway, and of course, people got interested in prepping big time during COVID, because everyone was a bit worried during COVID, weren't they? And, it was just that awful situation. So I think that's when prepping, it's always been around. There's always been survivalists, people that have been preparing for the end of the world. There's always been people like that. But I think it got more common, not just, I think it made us, I think COVID and now we feel like we're living in an unstable world, don't we, with wars like in Europe, Russia and Ukraine and the war in the Middle East, etc. We do feel like we're living in more uncertain times maybe than we were before. Now, maybe that's not true. Maybe it's just that we're more aware of everything now. I'm a great believer in that. We're so aware of everything that's happening all over the world because of the internet. Everything does feel closer to home, doesn't it? But because we're so interconnected now, with societies, it's a small world now. So these things feel closer to us than maybe they actually are. So at the end of the day, it's how we feel that counts, even, if there is no real danger or unlikely to be any real danger to us. It's how we feel. And prepping can make you just feel a little bit more secure, because you can feel that if, something awful happens, at least you've got, you don't have to panic and rush out and try and get, it was a bit like that in COVID, even though we didn't need to do it because the supermarkets were always stocked. Our particular Prime Minister here in Spain told us right from the beginning, there will be no problems with food, no problems with the supply chain. But of course, nobody really believed that. Everyone rushed out and bought in loads of food. And loo roll, remember, it was loo roll, of course, that we realised what's important in our lives. Loo roll, it was like gold dust, wasn't it? So because people didn't believe that there would not be a problem with the supply chain, and so then people bulk buy and they cause a problem then. But it's difficult not to in the beginning, and as time went on, people relaxed into it a bit and realised that they weren't going to starve. And it's natural for people to worry about themselves and their families, isn't it? It's just natural, but makes you think. I think when there's those sort of emergency things happen, people are quite selfish. I think they worry about themselves and their families first. I suppose that's human nature. But anyway, so that's sort of where I think it got more common, wasn't it, prepping, or more popular? And there was, quite a while it was ever so popular. I don't think it's so, I don't know, maybe it is, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I feel like it's sort of it hit a peak. Maybe it's not at its peak now as it was before. Anyway, so I started looking into it again because the government, the UK government, have just recently sort of put this website up. Be prepared, get prepared for emergencies. And that made me think, why have they put that up? They've literally just put it up within the last couple of days. Get prepared for emergencies. And that made me think, well, what are they expecting, an emergency or something? So, that's what brought it back to my mind. I'm just going to put the website up there. Yeah. Government.uk, prepare, get prepared for emergencies. And just, I'm just so cynical. I just think when the government does things like this, it's because they're expecting something to happen. But of course, it could be completely wrong. It might just have been something to put up there. Anyway, I'm going to say hello to everyone now before I carry on. Hi, Chumba. Hi, David. Hi, Ali. Oh, you've had that water parasite there. Dear me. That's it. You already in Britain, you should be boiling your water because God knows what's in it. Yeah. So we've got to boil your water. You've got conscription coming in. Apart from that, everything's going to be fine. Thank you, Ali. Thank you, Chumba, for my. It's a top. It's a top. A long top. Thank you, Phyllis. Hi, Phyllis. Yeah, primer stoves. We're going to look at all the various things. 1 p.m. in your area, Phyllis. Oh, good afternoon then to you. Hi, Heather. Heather McNadgers. So, hi to all of you that are in the chat, and hi to those of you at home, and hi to anyone who ends up watching this on replay. So, the first thing, obviously, what you've got to think about is everyone's a bit unique and individual, because getting prepared depends on you. Your family circumstances, who's in your household, what pets you have. Do you have animals you have to feed? Do you have land? Do you have some land or a garden even? I haven't even got a garden, you see. So some of the things that I'm going to talk about tonight, I couldn't do. But if you've got a garden, you can grow your own vegetables and things like that. There's a lot of things that you can do to sort of prepare, but they're all individual. Everyone's individual. Everyone's got their own particular circumstances, haven't they? Some people, if you've got babies or young children in the house, that's different, from someone who hasn't. Obviously, you've got to think about different things. If you've got disabled people in your household, vulnerable people, if you're disabled or vulnerable, elderly people, so there's all these things. What you have to really do, I think, is make a self-assessment as to what you need. So when I was thinking about it, I was thinking, well, if I go through my average day, from getting up in the morning, what I like to eat, what I drink. I have 2 coffees in the morning, so that's sort of essential to me. If you think about your daily habits and what you normally eat, what you normally drink, etc., and what you normally do, and then imagine you're trying to do all those things but without electricity or water, in the extreme circumstance. And, it's not even that extreme, really. I mean, many times here in Spain, we've had no water, not so much where I live now, but where I lived before. I think I might have said before, the water was off for about 3 weeks one summer. And, you've really found how useful baby wipes were in those circumstances. And electricity quite often goes off when there's storms or anything like that. So, it might not go off for 2 weeks, but it certainly go off for a couple of hours. So it's, in a way, I've been prepping ever since I came to Spain, just because of these things that sometimes happen. Anyway, this government website says that you should be prepared for 3 days. I personally think you should prepare for 2 weeks, because if you prepare for 2 weeks, you're going to, in Spanish we say sobra, you're going to have stuff, you're going to have more than enough. And it's better to have more than enough than to not have enough, isn't it? So personally, my advice would be prepare for 2 weeks. And because then there may be, as I've said before, there may be 2 weeks where, for whatever reason, maybe your finances are difficult because you've had a big bill come in, so you've got no money. But if you've got 2 weeks of supplies in anyway, it'll take you through that bad time. Or it might be 2 weeks that you're not feeling very well, or you could have broken your leg, or you could have, there's so many things that might be reasons why you can't go out shopping. Of course, these days now you can do internet shopping, but you can only do internet shopping if the internet's up and running. So there's all sorts of reasons why you might need a sort of a bridging period. So I think 2 weeks is a reasonable amount of time to think, right, hopefully it wouldn't be any longer than that. But of course, some people, some survivalists, they're preparing for the end of the world. I mean, I'm not talking about the end of the world, or that kind of thing. I'm more thinking of like things to do with the climate, or flooding, or, storms, or even civil unrest. But you'd hope that it won't last 2 weeks. So that's that's when I'm going to go ahead and do more videos on this. I'm going to be thinking of that, of 2 weeks. Anyway, so this this website has popped up. Get prepared for emergencies. Emergencies happen every day in the UK and across the world. They can be caused by severe weather or other natural hazards, by deliberate actions, because it could be a terrorism thing, a result of accidents or infrastructure failure. Events that can happen quickly, could be over in a few hours, or can develop and continue over the course of several days, months, or even longer. God, I don't like the sound of that. Below are a few simple and effective steps that you should consider taking to prepare for emergencies and the disruption they cause. And many of these activities can be helpful across a range of different types of emergency. And it's true, if you, thing is, you don't know what the emergency is going to be. You don't know, will it be the water goes off? Will it be the electric goes off? Will both go off? Will it be flooding? You don't know what the emergency is going to be. You've just got to be prepared for something. And there's many, so it goes on to say, be informed, find out about risks in your local area. So again, this goes back to what I'm saying. Some, on my chat, in my channel, there's people live all over the world, and there'll be people who live in apartments, flats, people who live on homesteads, people who live on farms. I know that I've got chatters who live in all sorts of different circumstances in all sorts of different parts of the world. So you've got to acquaint yourself with what are the possible problems in your part of the world. If you're in Australia or even Spain, there may be bushfires on a regular, or forest fires on a regular, which you wouldn't get in an urban. That's not going to be an urban problem. If you live in a city, that'd be a different kind of problem that might arise. So you've just got to acquaint yourself with the possible problems. Do you live in an area that is prone to flooding or power cuts, etc.? So sign up for all your alerts and warnings, and find out what are the most likely things that may affect you depending on the area that you live in. And what it's telling you to do here is learn some basic first aid skills. Well, that's always a good thing, isn't it? Check online to find free workshops, or if your employer will pay for a course. Check if your workplace or place you volunteer has a plan for what you should do if you can't contact them during an emergency, for example, in a power cut. So apparently, if you are disabled or you've got some special problems, there is a priority services register. So you can go on there and see if you're eligible to sign up to your gas, energy or water providers, priority search providers. Make a plan. Work out the best escape route from your home if there is a fire, or what you should do if your home floods. If you live with others, discuss this with them. So this is it. So there are different sorts of emergencies, because some emergencies you may need to stay at home, and they're the ones where you've got to have your provisions in home or whatever. Other emergencies, you may have to leave home suddenly, and these are videos that I'm going to do, because as I say, I can't fit everything in this one, but I've been looking at these. You got to make sure you've got a bug out bag. So a bug out bag is a bag that's just got, if you get the door knock, imagine like this is what has happened in Gaza. You get the door knock, right? You've got to evacuate because we're going to bomb this area. And it's like, what? And then you've got to start sort of, fishing around trying to get some stuff together, bearing in mind that your house may not be there by the time you come back, and that might not be in war. It happened to friends of mine when we had the bad floods here, the bad rains here. Some of my friends, they were told to leave their house, and when they went back to their house, there was nothing left. Everything was everything. The whole house was underwater, destroyed. Car was upside down. One of their cats they never found again. The other one was covered in mud. They lost everything they owned, everything. But luckily they were alive, because the police knocked on their door and said, you've got to evacuate now. But of course they didn't have time. They started trying to collect things, they got their dogs. They've got dogs and cats. They've got their dogs. But of course, cats are a different matter, aren't they, to try and get them. And the police said to them, if you don't come now, we're going to arrest you, because it's that dangerous. You need to leave now. So off they went. But when they went back, of course, their house was destroyed. Now, they didn't have a bug out bag. I bet they've got one now. I won't be surprised if they've got one now. I don't have one, but I'm going to do one. So you should have one for every member of your household. So even the children. So basically a bug out bag is just in case you have to suddenly leave your home very quickly. So imagine if all you had to do was pick up a bag and go. you've got an advantage there, haven't you? You know, you've got to think about what you need to put in it. You know, there's like cash, obviously, your phone, your charger, or a phone and a charger. There's various. So again, it's very particular to you, and every person in your household, even children, should have their bug out bag. You know, and if you're female and you're, you know, young, you have to make sure you've got your sanitary products, those kind of things. If you smoke, maybe you should make sure you've got a packet of cigarettes in there and a lighter. You know, I'm going to look at bug out bags. Some cash definitely you need in there, or some, maybe, you know, and some basic foodstuffs. You know, just something just in case, you know, it might be a couple of days before you can find somewhere, some shelter and somewhere to eat. I mean, it does make sense. It's almost like a get out bag, isn't it? Just in case you had to go. Maybe some personal things in there, some photos and stuff, because you wouldn't have time to take all your photos, some basic clothes, you know. So that's what you'd need in your bug out bag. I feel like I'm not trying to scare everyone, but it just seems really logical, really. If you've got a bag already packed, you might just have to add a couple of things to it. But it's already there, packed, ready to go, just in case. Might not be because you're in a war and you're going to get a bomb on you. It might be because there are floods coming. Could be lots of different reasons why you might need a bug out bag. And then the other one, so there's two bags. I've been looking at a lot of preppers, survivalist videos today, and the two bags that they say you should have and in your car, you need a get home bag. Because if you're suddenly stranded in your car and you just needed to get home, you've got to make sure that's a different proposition to your bug out bag. Your bug out bag to get you out of the house quickly, help you get out the house quickly, and your get home bag to help you to get home if you need to get home, you know, for whatever reason. So that would be in your car. So much to think. I tell you, this is what I mean. I talk about a rabbit hole. Once I started looking at this, I thought, oh my God, this is a series, not just one video. Hi, Tina. Hi, Simon. Hi, Jean. Now, of course, so going back to, hi Mello, going back to, you know, the first, Katrine, hi Katrine, just missed a few people coming in here, just saying hello to him. So what we're going back to, what I'm going to do more or less in this video is really just what you think, just to get you through a couple of weeks in your house. We look at bug out bags, things like that on another video. As I say, I'm going to have to do a series, I think. And the more I went into it, the more I started looking. There's quite a lot of websites, and they're very interesting. And as I say, the most important thing is think about your situation, because some of these preppers that I've been watching their videos, some of them, you know, live like in Alaska, or obviously if you live in Alaska in the wilds, you need different things than if you live in, you know, in a town centre or whatever. You know, there's different things you've got to think about. But there are some basic things that everybody will need. Now, some of the things that I think were interesting on this website, we're going to just look at the government website a little bit. So, yeah, this is good advice, because sometimes people don't know how to do this. You need to know how to turn off your gas, electricity and water. Well, I've got no gas in my house, but, you know, I know most of you will in the UK. You know, do you know how to turn it off if you needed to? Because it was flooding or whatever, and you had to turn all those things. Do you know where everything is? Have you got the correct insurance? You know, if you live in a flood area, you know, have you got sandbags, stuff like that, you know, that can help to protect your home? You know, have a look. get as much, find out where what are the problems of your particular area. There'll be some of you that live in places that never get flooded, so that's not going to be a problem. You don't even have to think about what would happen, if you ever got flooded. But there'll be others of you who do live in flooded areas that do flood, so that kind of thing. To me, the most important thing is understanding the risks in your particular area. So then, consider what supplies you and your household might need during an emergency lasting a few days. So think about what you use every day. What would you miss? What would you miss the most? I mean, there are some things that you'd probably miss, like the internet, etc., that you wouldn't have any control over if the electric went out and stuff. But there's other things you can have control over. And those things you don't have control over, like if the internet went down for 2 weeks and you didn't have your YouTube or you didn't have your telly, or what would you do instead? So you've got to think about that, because it's not only food. It's like, 2 weeks is a long time to entertain yourself. Or, you and your family, if you've got kids, how are you going to entertain kids for 2 weeks? Remember the old, some of us are old enough to remember the strikes and that. And it was quite fun, actually. That's because, kids are funny, aren't they? Because I was a kid and I do remember quite enjoying the blackouts and everything because it was exciting and it was fun. And we did things, of course, we didn't have internet then, but we had telly. So we played games and, it was sort of, had candle, everything was candlelit and it was sort of exciting. Which I'm sure it wasn't for my parents. I'm sure it wasn't exciting. It was probably a nightmare for them because they just like to watch the telly, really. But for us as kids, it was sort of quite exciting. So decide what's important to you, what you need. Because we'll all do. I live in a townhouse, but for somebody else who lives in a flat or lives in a great big house somewhere, we've all got our own individual needs. And you've got, of course, finding a place to keep all these things is difficult because you got, I was thinking about where I would put it. I've got the like basement downstairs, and I suppose that's where I would keep everything. And I meant to do it before and I never really got around to building it up properly. The one thing that I do try and do is stay ahead, like with groceries and stuff like that. Always be, so as soon as I don't wait till I run out of something before I buy the next thing. I try and buy it when I'm nearing to, so I've always got 2 of everything, but that's not enough to last you 2 weeks. So not in my house anyway. Put them in a place that's easy to find. Don't put your torch in a place that you've got it's going to take you 15 minutes to find it. Your torch especially needs to be really easy to just reach. If the electricity suddenly goes off, you don't want to be scrabbling around trying to remember where you find your torch. Might even be a good idea to write a list of where you've put everything, because if you're anything like me, the more prepared I am, then when it comes to the moment something happens, I think, where did I put that torch? Do you know what I mean? If there's been more than a week's gone past, I've slept since then, so I've forgotten where I put the torch in the first place. So you've got to have, remember where you've put everything. It's saying on this website, it's helpful to keep these items in one place in your home, and ideally somewhere easy to find if the lights aren't working, because it's bound to happen at night. If you're escaping your house due to a fire, you should not take anything with you at all. So that's a different thing, isn't it? If there's a fire, unless you've got your bug out bag, handy to just literally next to the door, but you shouldn't be hanging around trying to pick up your belongings and things. When there's a fire, you need to just get out. Make sure you've got enough of the medication you need to keep you going. So that's it. If you're on medication, make sure you've always got a little bit put aside, So apart from your normal sort of first aid supplies, if you like aspirin or ibuprofen or plasters, maybe some Savlon or whatever you use, Germaline or Sudocrem or whatever, everybody has their favourite sort of ointments and potions. Vitamin tablets, if you take vitamin tablets, or even if you don't, you should have some of them handy, because if you end up not being able to eat properly, proper food, if you like, for a couple of weeks or longer, you need vitamin tablets maybe. Just make sure you've got them there. So pack a few essential items in your car boot to make sure you're ready in case of getting stuck in wintry weather. So this is your get home bag that they're talking about, isn't it? A torch, an in-car phone charger, warm clothes and blankets. Now, we don't really get, here in Spain, we don't get extreme cold weather, or not where I live anyway. You do in the north of Spain, they do get snow, etc. But yeah, if you live in a place where it commonly sort of snows and you get bad weather, etc., you've got to be thinking, if you get stranded, something happens to your car and you're up in, people die of hypothermia, don't they? So you've got to make sure you've got blankets, maybe a pillow or something, so that you can, at least you're safe and warm until help can get to you. It's saying here, food and drink and a shovel for snow. So I suppose, yeah, you could keep some water in your car and some snacks, like some non-perishable snacks. And it's saying about keeping a first aid kit in your car. I have a feeling that in Spain, it's actually, you have to have a first aid kit in your car. I think it's, part of the law that you do have to have a first aid kit. So they go through some emergency kit of items to have at home. And I'm going to go through some other things. I've got a few pages of notes here of things. Hi, Charlie. Let me just make sure I haven't missed anyone. I just noticed that Charlie had snuck in there. I do try and keep an eye on it, but sometimes I do miss people coming in. So if I missed you coming in and they haven't said hello, make sure, say hello again, and I'll try my best to... I think I've said hello to Simon, but if I haven't, hi, Simon. I can see you're all chatting to each other anyway. Yeah, you need boiled sweet's a good idea, Charlie. Yeah, you need another house for all these things. No, but not really, not really. It helps if you've got a spare room, obviously, or a shed, or I don't know, or just a little corner of one room, one big cupboard or wardrobe to put everything in. It is important, I think, because you know what I think it's important for, because you may never need it. You have to hope that you never need it. So you've got to remember to change things maybe every now and again. So if you haven't used it for 10 years, some of the food you've put in there might be out of date. So make sure you don't just leave it there forever. But what was I going to say? But so, yeah, it does. I don't know about you, but I always feel better when the shopping's been, and I know I've got lots of shopping in. You do feel better, don't you? You feel, whereas when you start running low on everything, you get a little bit anxious. So it's good, because it stops you getting anxious, if nothing else. And when we're watching these things on the telly about wars and this, that, and the other, and oh God, it feels like every 5 minutes there's something that we've got to worry. It's something new we've got to worry about. At the moment in the UK, it's the boiling the water, isn't it? And all the sewage in the rivers, etc. For God's sake, but there's always something new to worry about. So it's just one less thing to worry about, I suppose. Oh, I haven't even gone there yet with the things that you need. I mean, of course, a lot of preppers, like in America and Canada and countries where people tend to have big houses, plenty of room, maybe outside storage, you've just got to really, but if you live in a little apartment, then you're not going to need so much, are you? You just got to think about the things, you know, if you're only living, if it's just you, you're not going to need as much as if you've got a family of 5, for example. So this is what I mean, you've got to just think of your particular circumstances. You've got to think about the animals you have, because of course they're very important. You know, the thought of I just hope I never have to leave with our 3 dogs, and it's not too bad staying here with them. But imagine having to pick up your animals, your dogs, your cats, your budgie, whatever, and, you know, trek, be displaced. I think displacement is the worst thing. If you have to stay in your house, like we all had to do during COVID, and it wasn't very nice, but really it wasn't that bad, was it? Well, I certainly didn't find it that bad, because I suppose I'm a person who likes being in the house anyway. But to me, the worst thing that could happen is somebody knocking on your door and saying, right, you've got to go. Just like that. And you've got your animals, and you've got your, you know, and some of these people in war zones and that, they've had to travel miles, you know, carrying their animals, or they've had to leave them behind. And I just don't know how you could do that. But how could you, you know, I've got 3 dogs. And all right, my son, he would take his dog and his things. But, you know, how could we get between us 3 dogs and then suitcases or bug out bags or whatever, and carrying all that? I'm too old for all that shit. I mean, maybe when I was in my 20s, but not now. You know, it'd be a nightmare, wouldn't it? Be a nightmare. So of course your bug out bag could be a suitcase with wheels on it. You know, just imagine you're flying Ryanair. Put as much, get as much as you can in that suitcase. Things that are going to be important to you. With a suitcase with wheels. Another good idea, of course, would be like one of those shopping bags, you know, that you pull along with wheels. That'd be good for a bug out bag, because you don't, you know, imagine having to carry something, even a rucksack, because you'd have quite a lot of stuff in it. And then if you were trying to, you know, walk your dogs with you at the same time. Oh God, that displacement, you know, these poor people that get displaced when you see them with all the suitcases and their kids, and they don't even know where they're going. It's not as if they're going from one place to a safe place. They go to a safe place and then they get bombed there or whatever. Horrible, absolutely awful. Anyway, so let's hope if there ever is any need for this, I would hope that I'd rather be at home having to deal with things than having to deal with things on the road. And I suppose if you could get in your car, I suppose if you're lucky, not everyone's got a car, but if you're lucky enough to have a car, I suppose you can load up your car. I'm just thinking about putting our 3 dogs in that car, because the German Shepherd, she hates the other 2 dogs. So how could you keep them apart? You know what I mean? It's like, I'd have to put them in a crate or something. Oh, it'd be awful. So hopefully I'll never have to find that out. So an emergency kit of items at home: a battery or a wind-up torch. Torches are safer than candles, of course they are. So make sure if you've got, I mean, it's handy to have candles though, all the same, but yeah, torches are safer, of course. But you need your batteries as well, of course. A portable power bank for charging your mobile phone, a battery or wind-up radio to get updates during a power cut. So I think an ordinary radio, that is very important, because bearing in mind, if you've got no electricity, and there's no internet and stuff, you need to get your news somewhere. So a battery radio. I've never seen a wind-up radio, I don't think. Spare batteries, first aid kit, including items such as waterproof plasters, bandages, a thermometer, antiseptic eye wash solutions, sterile dressings and gloves, medical tape for dressings, and tweezers. I think also if you can get hold of any antibiotics, there are places here in Spain you can buy antibiotics without a prescription. So it's a good idea to stock up on antibiotics as well. Hand sanitizer, wet wipes, bottled water. you know, and we've always got a lot of bottled water in, or normally have, but because it goes pretty quick, you know, my son probably goes through 2 of these bottles a day. I go through 1 normally. They're 1.5 litres. I'd say my son easily goes through 2 of these a day. So that's a lot that you need in to last for 2 weeks. I admit audacity. So what else? So many things. Non-perishable food, of course, tinned food and tinned fruit, and don't forget your can opener. Don't forget your corkscrew if you like, and your wine if you like a wine, or cans of beer or whatever floats your boat. If you like a spliff, you better make sure you got some devil's lettuce in, don't you? And baby supplies, of course, again, so it all depends on your family, your particular family. If there's a baby in your family, you need to think, oh God, you need loads of things for babies, and ready to feed formula better, because you probably won't be able to, you know, it might be more difficult to boil water. And yeah, if you've got young women in your family, or, you know, if you've not gone through the menopause yet, you need to think about your sanitary requirements. You know, these are things that you'd probably forget until suddenly you think, oh my God, you know, what am I going to do? So all those things that you've got to think about. So that's the government website that started me off thinking all this in the first place. So I started looking at different things, because, you know, going back to, well, there's one thing that we'll all need wherever we live, and that we can, so you can get camping gas. Keep a camping gas thing in your house, if you can fit all this stuff in, like you say. So I just had a look online. There's loads of these camping gas. They're not that expensive, you know. So you're looking at this one is $26.99. I'm sure there's lots of different ones. Leroy Merlin, they're $26.99. Don't know if that includes the actual gas or it's just the camping thing, but they're pretty. I think I've said before, I had one of these years ago when I first moved into this house, and I didn't have a cooker yet. I couldn't afford a cooker. Spent all my money on buying the house, and I had one very similar to this. And they're great, you know, they're perfect. You know, a good idea is a barbecue. You know, I've got a little, of course, you can buy those barbecues that but they only do one. You can buy barbecues here in Spain. So they're about €5 or something, maybe more now. Bought one for ages, but they're just a one-off use one. But if you had a barbecue, you just got to make sure you've got your fire lighters in, make sure you've got your charcoal in, so at least you'll be able to cook things on the barbecue. You can even boil water properly on the barbecue and stuff like that, though it takes quite a long time. So that's something that if you've always got that in, you can turn to that for a few days or a couple of weeks. So there's a lot of camping things, obviously, that you can use. You know, people who go camping, they'll probably have a lot of these things already. And yeah, they're handy. Like if you can't get your proper gas or you can't get your electricity, then these things, you know, you can buy nearly everything on Amazon now, can't you? Don't even have to go out to the shops to get these things, you know. And I can see that the range in price. So the actual gas canister there is only $2.46 in Decathlon. Do you have Decathlon in the UK or in the other countries you're watching from? Decathlon is like a sports shop here in Spain. I don't know if you have it in other countries. So that will sell a lot of things like to do with camping, etc. You know, and in your get home bag, like I suppose you could have a little tent. I mean, you can buy more or less anything these days. But of course, you can't just go out, you've got to think about your budget. You're going to have to build these things up gradually, unless, you've got, if you think you're going to spend your savings on it or whatever, just go out and buy the lot. But the best thing, obviously, is to just stock up gradually, isn't it? So you can think about a gas cooker thing, and that means you can have your cups of tea, you can boil your water, you can have pot noodles, you can make pasta. Really, these are fun. This is a fundamental thing in it. You've got to be able to make tea and coffee and stuff like that. For me, that's fundamental. You're going to want a cup of tea and a cup of coffee and stuff like that. So, I think these are important. What was the other thing I looked at them, and then I thought, right, good idea, because what a lot of people already use here in Spain, and probably you use in the UK and other countries, solar lights. So if you've got your solar light, I haven't got any solar lights, believe it or not, but why haven't I don't know. Temu is really good. I feel like I'm advertising them, but Temu is, I just ordered some chair covers from Temu, and they're so cheap compared to everywhere else, and they arrived on time and everything was fine. So yes, solar lights are a good idea. You can leave them outside in the day, and then sort of store, charge them up, if you like, and then you can use them outside your house. Will you be able to bring them in the house then, and then use them in the house once they're charged up in the daytime? So solar lights these are good ideas just anyway, because it saves you some electricity, I suppose. But think if you're trying to cut down on your electricity bills, solar lights are a good idea as well. Of course, solar panels are so popular now in Spain. I don't have solar panels, but that's something to think about as well. We've even got a solar lamp here, a hanging solar lamp from Temu for €3.97. So these are all things that you can think of. Then the next thing I was thinking, and then battery lights. So did you know you can get battery lights? I didn't. So these camping lights, battery operated lights. So again, they're actually handy to have in your house and use in your house anyway. Why just use them for camping? Use them in your house and save on your electricity bill over time, obviously, because you've got to buy them first. But yeah, so there's loads of battery lights. Look at these. Honestly, it's you can just buy anything, can't you? Practically. Just come back to the chat. Make sure you're okay. Oh, so admit Audacity's got a solar charging port. Phyllis has got an Army and Navy store. Yeah, go in there and get what you can. Mello's got tents and camping stuff, so we'll all go round to Mello's. There was something else that I saw, something that, yes, Simon said pen and paper. So important, because people do a lot of things on the computer now. Imagine if you've not got a computer, so you need pads, paper, pens. I like writing things down. I've always got a pad. All my notes were written down on the pad. I need some new pads actually. This is about my last sort of one from the last batch that I bought. Yeah, because you're going to need it, and not only for playing games and things like that, writing things down, making lists. It would drive me mad to not be able to, I couldn't imagine a time when I didn't have pens and paper and I've got a lot of stationery type things in my house, obviously for being a teacher. And a lot of books. That's the other thing. Make sure you've got books in your house, because if you can't watch the telly for a couple of weeks or do, watch YouTube or whatever you normally do, you're going to be needing to be doing something. So, get some books in there. And and the other thing I thought of, because if, like me, you don't actually wear glasses, I don't wear glasses, but sometimes if I'm reading something and my eyes get tired, I've got these glasses that I bought in the Chinese shop. Actually, these are really old. I need some new ones. They're about €3. Make sure you've got, if you need, maybe don't need proper glasses, if you like, all the time, but just make sure you've got a couple of pairs of cheap glasses so that you can read, even when the light's not very good, because at night maybe you won't have brilliant light. You might be reading by candlelight or reading by torchlight. So make sure you've got some cheap glasses in. So I've always got that pair. Just sometimes if it's some really small print on something, I need them, but rarely that I need them. But they're there just in case I do. I might need them in a minute because the light's not very good in here when I try and read my notes. And because my writing, when I was writing the notes, like, my writing's terrible, so I might need them then. So I think what you should get as well, don't forget, is my Spanish books. Good time to learn Spanish when you've got 2 weeks. Get them in now, the Spanish books off Amazon. I'm joking, but I'm not really, but not necessarily my Spanish books, but yeah, use that time to maybe do something that you've not had time to do before. It's easy. It's so much easier, isn't it, to sit and put the telly on or put YouTube on or do whatever. But when you can't do that, you could learn something, or maybe you do some sewing or some knitting, or I don't know, some hobby that you haven't done for ages that you used to like doing but you don't do anymore, like reading or etc. Write some poetry, write a book, do something. Hi. Hi, Maria. Hello, Peppers. Hi, Preppers. Yeah. We're all preppers tonight. We're all preppers. I'm going to do a series. It just, honestly, the more you look into this, the more there is. So I think these are brilliant. These battery lamps and things are brilliant. And I think they'd be good, because saving on your electricity, but not only that, if they've got batteries in them, you can move them around easily. You don't have to put them near your PowerPoints and stuff. You can put them anywhere. I definitely need some of these, as my garage needs new lights, where I do the classes. And I keep meaning to get around to it and haven't got around to it, but I wouldn't need to get them installed. I could get some of these solar lights or battery lights. These were the battery lights. Let's have a look at them. We looked at those, didn't we? No, we've looked at the battery lights. Now, for someone like me who lives in a hot country, because it all depends, of course, where you live. What you need depends on where you live. Now, living here in Spain, if the electricity went in the middle of July or August, oh my God, what are you going to do for a fan? Or, you won't be able to put your aircon on. So there's all these battery operated fans, which are brilliant. Some of my students in the summer, when they come in, they bring these little fans that you just literally put on the desk in front of you, and they just blow, and they're brilliant. So that's something. If you live in a hot country, make sure you've got some battery fans, because you just imagine, like, if you're living in Australia, I know some of you live in Australia or around these hot areas, or America, when you've got depending which part you live, anywhere in the summer, to be honest. I mean, in Britain, when it's hot, it's unbearable, isn't it? Because your houses aren't designed for the hot weather. So these are good. Look, there's a portable air conditioner and humidifier, 26.47 on Temu. You know, that's good, isn't it? And these fans and bigger ones as well. Battery, I mean, that's a bit expensive, €155. But then, you know, you won't be thinking that if you're sitting sweltering in July or August, you'd be thinking, I wish I would have bought that battery fan, even though it was €155. But you don't need one as big as that. You just need a personal one, and one probably for everybody who's in your house. These look quite good. $39.90, but they're bigger fans. Another that's the Spanish climatizador. I don't know what the English is. A climatizer or something like that. So yeah, all these to think about if you live in a country that gets hot. But even, as I say, if you live in the UK or any country, it can get hot sometimes. So they're handy to have, even, you know, when you've just got a couple of hot days and it's driving you mad when you're trying to work on the computer or you're trying to cook. You know, these are great because they're portable. You can just, you know, when I'm cooking in the summer, I always put a fan next to me because otherwise it's unbearable in the kitchen. So there you go. So you've got battery operated fans. Then if you live in a cold country, I don't think you'd ever really need this in Spain, but maybe it does get cold sometimes. You can get battery operated heaters. So there's something to think about if you live in a cold country. You know, imagine if it's right in the middle of winter and and then your central heating's gone. Can't put your central heating on because you've had a power outage. Or it could be just because your boiler's gone. You know, this is what I'm saying, the emergencies could be anything. Maybe your boiler breaks and it takes ages before you can get anyone out to fix it. It's not easy, is it, these days? Especially in the winter, I would imagine, when everybody's boiler's breaking down, you know, trying to get somebody out to fix your boiler. So look at all these portable heaters that might be useful. You know, all these things are things to think about all the time, really. So if your central heating broke, or your thermostat went, or something, you know, what would you do? So look, so it goes from these like really quite sort of expensive ones that are probably, you know, really good ones, if you like, or whatever, maybe, and then, or just little ones, just personal ones, just to heat you up. And again, just make sure you've got plenty of blankets, duvets, you know, so at least you can sort of get under your duvets and stuff like that. You've always got to have lots of throws, and we do need those in Spain as well, because it does get cold in Spain. It's not always hot. So those were things that I was looking at, you know, that I think could come in handy. Let me just put these windows down now, the ones that I've shown you. Right, I've got quite a few windows to put down, so just bear with me a minute. So where am I going now? So I'm going to show you a video now. So this, I thought this video was really interesting. So this is a guy in America talking about put N1 in front of the proper word. N1 proper picture. Oh, I don't mind if I know, yeah. Well, I've had this necklace years, Heather. Sorry, Heather's commented. I've had this necklace a long, long time. I think I got it in the Chinese shops here in Spain. They're brilliant. Okay, so we're going to have a look now at a prepper video. And I do think this is quite a big thing, especially in countries like America and that, where maybe people live in more remote places. That that I expect that people in New York or people in cities anywhere in the world, if you live in London or you live in Melbourne or wherever, it probably prepping's not as much as a priority for people as it may be if you don't, if you live in a more remote place, because the more remote the place you live, even just in normal life, prepping's necessary probably. But if everything sort of went wrong, you live in the most remote areas, you're the most likely to really struggle to get food and this, that, and the other. So let's have a look. What have I done with it? Yeah, there we go. Let's have a look.
Worried about a calamity or extinction level event? Wolf Starchild is your guy.
So in this kit, we will start a fire today with no matches whatsoever, simply using a knife.
And Wolf, and yeah, that's his real name, he's a prepper.
He's called Wolf. Wolfie. There you go, another wolf. Well, he's not Wolfie, he's just Wolf. And sorry, Gina, I just saw what I don't mind if people mention other channels. Now I've sort of given up on that. As long as people don't. The only reason I didn't like to mention other channels is I don't like, warring between channels. So I don't mind if people mention it, other channels. I literally don't mind anymore. I've sort of gone past that. As long as people don't expect me to give an opinion on other channels.
And spends a lot of time teaching others how to survive the worst.
A huge paradigm shift happened.
Look at that lovely dog, that beautiful dog. Now, I bet that is real fur he's got on, that hat he's got on. Of course, people who live in these sort of remote areas, they tend to be into hunting and stuff like that, which, of course, I don't approve of. But then I haven't been brought up in these sort of places. I think this guy's in Canada. Yeah, this is a Canadian broadcast service.
During the pandemic.
Shall we make some fire?
All right, so make your first fire. Let's see if you can light it up.
There we go.
There we go. Very nice.
Oh, bloody hell, that was quick.
People that came for our courses to take courses like learning how to split wood, learning how to survive, learning how to be out in the woods, then shifted to, oh my God, I'm scared. I need these skills to protect my family.
And what are they thinking? Like,
yes, that's it. The thing is, these skills, if you like, or prepping and just being, it's not, it just does help anxiety, doesn't it? People like to be in control, don't they? That's where it all went well here in Spain. First of all, when the lockdown started, there was just this massive panic of, I think probably everywhere it was the same, panic buying in the shops, food, because people are thinking they're not going to have food for their family, dog food for their pets. God, I mean, it don't matter what you've got a budgie, get your budgie seed in, get your hamster food in, tortoise food, whatever, bird seed, whatever animal you've got. And then your family, so everybody just panicked like mad, wasn't it? That extreme anxiety, because we've all watched, well, I've watched The Walking Dead, and, people lose their mind a little bit. People lost their mind a little bit here, definitely during COVID. And as I'm sure they did everywhere. And I think a lot of people haven't quite recovered from it, have they? And so those poor young people, what they had to go through with it, of course, now they've got to face national service now if they're in the UK. But they're thinking, bloody hell, we went through COVID and we had to just, they're poor. They've probably come out of COVID with anxiety. A lot of them don't even want to go to school now because they've become almost agoraphobic. And now they're thinking that by the time they get to 18, they might have to do national conscription. Anyway, don't get me going. I'm not talking about that now. I talked about that this morning. But do you know what I mean? Like when people are worried about this society collapsing, they start to panic and they think about their family and their pets and everything, you know, and they just go into a panic. So I suppose because you feel out of control, don't you? I mean, I imagine if you're in a war situation and you're completely out of control because you've got two armies fighting and you could be bombed at any minute. You don't even know if it's your own people that are going to bomb you in the end. And you're completely out of control. So if people have got a little bit of control, you know, that they can think that, oh, well, if that happens, I'm prepared for the worst. I can hunker down. You know, we've got all this stuff. I know how to do this. I know how to do that. I think it's human nature to feel better if you feel a bit more in control. When people feel out of control, they get very anxious.
Most of those people were like,
collapse.
Society collapse is what they were concerned about.
2, 1, fire.
The prepper movement isn't new. Rooted in Cold War fears of an apocalypse. But recent big fires and floods, civil disorder, plus the war in Ukraine have put the movement on the radar, encompassing more than just a fringe.
Well, actually, yeah, I was just seeing people mention that. I haven't even mentioned that about the toilet. You know, going to the toilet. Yeah, portable. You could probably still use your toilet if you're in the house, but you need water to flush it down. So that's why you've got to get in the big bottles of water. Trying to think where and I suppose you might be, because you couldn't leave your house, so you won't be able to go to places where you can fill up your bottles of water. Like I was thinking, could you go to rivers and that, fill up your water, but you may not be able to go out the house. So yeah, getting water in is important. And do you know what? If you've got any empty plastic bottles, filling them up with your water out the tap, well, depending on where you live in the UK, it depends if it's got the parasite in it or not. But like, for example, this bottle that I'm drinking, really, when it's empty, I should fill it up with water from the tap, mark it that it's tap water, so it needs boiling, really, and put that downstairs in the garage and keep water that way, because probably one of those bottles could flush the toilet twice. So now Portaloo in your car is a good idea, isn't it? So that would be good for your get home bag type thing, because if you get stranded out in your car, a Portaloo would be a good thing, or even just a bucket. Just something. These are things, because at the end of the day we have to go to the loo. It's a human thing. We can't pretend that we don't go to the loo. We do. So it's important thinking about what you're going to do with your waste. So you're going to have to either flush it down the loo by keeping bottles of water, or where could you do? Maybe if you could dispose of it somewhere in the woods, put it in a doggy bag, the doggy poop bags. You need a bigger one probably for a person, but unless you've got a big dog. Oh dear, it just don't bear thinking about, does it?
Element. Look no further than Costco, which sells a prepper's pallet of food for a year.
I mean, have you seen that? So you can buy that in Costco in Canada. I mean, it's $2,500 nearly. Bloody hell. But it's $500 less than it is. It is a discount of $500, but that's a year's food. So it's the ReadyWise Serving Ultimate Variety Emergency Food Palette. Now, I wonder how long it keeps for. So if you bought one, how long would it keep for? Because you might not need to use it. I mean, would it last 10 years if you bought it, or do you have to buy a new one every year? But it's interesting. I wonder what's in it. Probably won't be very nice, whatever it is. But
this is going to sound totally reasonable to some people, like a thing they should do, and others are going to think you're crazy.
That's right. Well, neither is wrong.
Okay.
Indeed, there are still guns and ammo survivalists, sometimes with roots in the far right. They fear a civil war, believe government itself is the threat.
Is that the community today?
There's people like that in it. Absolutely, there is. Self-reliance as a whole attracts that type of person to it. It definitely does. And that's not to say that certainly everybody is like that.
Yeah, so some of the people in these survivalist groups and that, it's the government that they think is, they're anti-government, aren't they? We've seen that recently in one of the cases that we looked at, those two poor missing mums who went missing, going to the custody, going to pick up one of the women's kids in the custody battle, and the grandma and a load of those bloody hillbillies have murdered them. And, there's a lot to come out about that. I need to perhaps do an update on that soon, because they found that they were in freezers, buried, and they're speculating they may have been still alive when they were put in there. I hope not. Oh, God, I mean, it's bad enough what happened to them. But, that God's Misfits, wasn't it? The group is called. They don't believe in, they don't acknowledge the American government. They're not American citizens. They believe the government are terrible, etc. And so he's saying, so this is in Canada, and there's people like that probably in every country. And so some of it, they're survivalists because of the government. Everybody's got their different reasons, I suppose, for doing, stocking up things. I think for most people, it is worrying that it's going to be the end of the world, a nuclear war, or some virus again that escapes, but then you've got other people who are a bit more political about it.
It's for me, prepping and the prepping that we teach is practical. Right? Again, your car goes off the road, you're now in a prepping situation. Right?
But for all preppers, there are limits.
The first rule of prepping is we don't talk about prepping.
And why is that?
The reason is because many preppers believe it makes them a target.
So that's interesting, isn't it? Because so he says the first rule about prepping is we don't talk about prepping because people think that makes them a target. Well, it would be, wouldn't it, really? Do you imagine if somebody's that your neighbour up the road has got a load of food and water and guns and this, that and the other, and then suddenly we're in a situation where you need it. If people know that they've got those tucked away, they will be a target, because people, you'll see the real side, of human nature, because human nature is to protect yourself and your family. So people will be going off trying to steal food from other people, or, that's when you do. It is human nature, really, isn't it? If you've got no water and the guy up the road has got loads of water, and your family's dying because it's got no water, that person is a target, I suppose, unless you can come to some agreement with them.
The question is, when does being prepared become being paranoid? In northern BC, Alicia Atkins says living rural means being prepared.
Look, when you live in a place like that, you've got to be prepared, haven't you? Because I bet they get snowed in sometimes. There'll be times they can't go out and cut trees down. God, look at all that wood. Bloody hell. There will be times when the weather will be so bad they can't go out. So they've got to be prepared. Just a normal life, they've got to be prepared.
She's happy to show us her wood pile with years of fuel, a large greenhouse, and a freezer full of meat.
Show me what you got.
So we've got some deer burger here. Lots of deer, lots of moose.
Yeah.
Rows of canned food, sprouts which will produce over the winter. Seeds, she says, are her most valuable possession.
Tomatoes, corn, beans, peas, cabbages, lettuce.
What is this to you? I know it's a
security.
Oh.
Security. Yeah. So these are definitely very valuable to me.
Could you do 10 years here?
We have our heat in place. Hunting's available, fishing's available. We have access to water. We could do 10 years.
Alicia worries about food shortages, economic collapse too. Her plan, though, involves her neighbors.
Because we do rely on our community. There's a lot of trade and barter that go around here.
Yeah, tell me about that.
So for example, if I want livestock, I can grow fruit trees that produce food, but I might not have the pigs. So I can find someone that does have the pigs and trade them fruit trees.
Good job. So sit pretty.
Trade and barter also cuts government out of the transaction. But for all the stockpiling and planning,
Come on, show your muscles. You got it. You got it.
Alicia thinks she's less prepper, more of a homesteader, relying on herself, her family, and her land.
Oh, look, a little girl just fell over with her log. Oh, no, when you live somewhere like that, you've got to learn to be, I don't think, like, I wouldn't think of this woman as necessarily a prepper for the end of the world. Just her whole life will be about just getting organised for when the cold weather comes in, you know. And that was interesting what she was saying, because, you see, you've got to think about what you're capable of. You know, if I lived somewhere like that, I know for a fact I could not kill animals to eat. So, you know, if there were neighbours who did have, like she said, if they had livestock and they're capable of, you know, killing it and doing whatever you have to do with it, cut it up or skin it or whatever, you know, and you know, as I think I've mentioned before, I'm sort of a failed vegetarian. I try not to eat meat, but I quite often do eat it. But it's a whole different thing having to sort of kill it and prepare it yourself. Now, here in Spain, there's a lot of, you know, they cure their hams, you know, they hang them up. And although that, you know, it's horrible, but if you were prepping, they last a long time. In fact, they're hung up like for years sometimes. So, I suppose that's something you could get in the Serrano ham that you could hang up and just would last a very, very long time. It doesn't go off, you know, they hang it up in a cool sort of place, cure it. The other thing I suppose you could do is if you've got a bit of land or a bit of even I suppose I could have them. Oh, no, I can't because I could only put them up on the sunroof and poor things would you know, just fry to death in the summer. Is if you could get chickens so that you could have eggs. You know, I'm not talking about chickens to kill. I know I couldn't kill a chicken, so I just couldn't do it. But yeah, if you could have a couple of chickens that might lay eggs, that would be something, I suppose. It's quite popular now, isn't it? A lot of people have got chickens in their garden. You know, and they rescue them, don't they, from battery farms and things. So there's a thought. You could get some chickens, or you could plant some trees. If you've got a garden, you can plant fruit trees, of course, vegetables, things like that. And even if you haven't got a garden, you can plant herbs and stuff. I don't think I tried to grow tomatoes once. I ended up with about 5. Like they were half the size of a cherry tomato. That was my crop of tomatoes, the one crop that I got off this tomato plant. So, you know, I don't think I could do that. But if you've got a bit of a garden, or if you've got, maybe you can get an allotment or something.
So what are you?
Prepared, I guess, which is kind of the same as a prepper. Sustainable, self-sufficient.
I don't know. What's the stigma around that?
When I think of a stereotypical prepper, I think of someone that has a bomb shelter and is collecting artillery, and or you know, they're almost militant about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because some of these people, they've got. I tell you, David, you say I would if I was hungry enough, maybe, but there'd be other things I could eat. I couldn't kill an animal and eat it. I know I couldn't, not unless I literally. That was the only thing, but I don't think I could even then. So, but you know, we're talking about being in a situation you don't have to eat animals. You know, there'll be other things. There'll be fruit. There'll be other things to eat. There are other things you can grow, etc. But she's talking now about these militant prep. You know, they don't only stockpile food and, you know, provisions, etc. They stockpile arms. They really are ready for the end of the world. And of course, in America, as we know, you can just go and buy a gun, like Paul Micah did within sort of 20 minutes. Bought a gun in the pawn shop, gun and ammunition. So some people have got loads of arms and guns. It's quite scary, isn't it, really? But I understand why they do it. You know, you should have some weapons, really. If you can't get hold of a gun, I suppose it's like baseball bats and machetes and things like that. It's just a horrible thing to think about. But I suppose if it came to that really the Armageddon type thing, you would definitely need weapons, because people would be coming for what you've got. People would be coming for it. And of course, then there's the zombies as well you've got to deal with. No, I'm only joking.
And they're ready to cut off from the world.
They're ready to cut off. Yeah.
Is that you?
No.
They exist, though, like in the US, with underground fortified bunkers.
Change the image that we have as crazy people.
Paul Rodriguez is worried about getting robbed, so doesn't want to show his face. Not unusual in the community.
So I'm a normal guy. I go to the gym. I got a mortgage.
Paul's an urban prepper. He lives in Toronto, and it was the city's ice.
I'd rather not survive, David. I'd rather die. There's no way I would eat my little dog. So that guy that you're talking about, who admitted he ate his little dog, is a twat, because I would never do it. I'd rather die first. I would die. I would take me and my little dog out of this world together. But there is no way on God's earth that I would eat my little dog. I'm sorry. I'm not. I could maybe other animals like I did, but not my own little dogs. I don't care what anyone says. So to me, he's just a twat, and I can't believe he even admitted it. You know, some people, I'd rather die first. Quite happy to die, to be honest. Take me and my little dog and jump off a cliff or something, but there's no way I would eat my little dog.
Storm in 2013, where power was cut for days, that convinced Paul prepping was imperative.
I was at home with my power generator, watching DVD movies, cooking my food, and then my neighbor struggling. He got a baby. He couldn't boil the water for the formula for the baby. So I told him, buddy, I'll give you an extension. Go ahead.
And what?
How creepy is he with that mask on? So look, he's got, I think this is his, what, oh God, I've even forgotten what they call it already, bug bag or whatever that he's got.
What's this that's strapped to you?
So this is a scanner that I use to get my local news. My EMS, my police, firefighters. There are so many news that don't get to the TV. So local stuff. So
It's like situational awareness for you.
that's it.
Yeah.
We got the first aid for minor cuts. So you fill it up with water, you put this place to the sun, and it gets hot.
Paul's got a go bag ready the instant he needs.
Did you see that? So this is his go bag, or the bug bag, or whatever they call it. It's got a bloody axe in there. I'm presuming he doesn't carry it around with him all day. That he keeps it at home, and it's just in case type bag. But you know, I suppose. Oh God, and he listen. Just that. I think this is the extreme. Like, I don't think I'd ever be as extreme as, you know, listening to the scanners and things like that to see what the local, because I suppose what he's saying is, you know, we don't get to hear everything, do we, on mainstream news? So he's listening into scanners and things to try and get a heads up on anything that might be going on.
Needs it, complete with an axe.
This is if I need to carry a gun. This is
He didn't bring his guns to meet us, but he has them.
everyone in the house has a bug-out bag. My kids, my wife, myself.
His biggest fear? Riots, even nuclear accident or attack.
And prepping is an entire lifestyle. So
Wolf thinks everyone has a little prepper in them.
Yeah, we've all got a little prepper in us. You know, you may even, as I say, even if you just get a little bit of extra water and a few extra jars of coffee, a bit of Battenberg mellow, you know, yeah, get in the things that you think that you're going to miss the most if you can't get out of the house for a while. So yeah, we've all got a little bit of prepper in us, apparently.
you can get as deep into it as you want. So you can be like the super hardcore off-grid guy who owns a bug-out bus, makes his own clothes.
Yeah, but okay,
that's also me.
That is you. Yeah.
An investment, many preppers will say, expecting they'll need it.
So there you go. Get your bug out bags ready as well. Now I'm just going to have a look at my notes now. There is another sort of YouTube video. I might need my glasses because the light's not very good in here. So these are me prepper glasses, just in case I need to read in dim light. So let me just make sure I haven't missed anything off my notes. So the bug out bag, the get home bag. So of course you've got to think as well, is anyone in your household on a special diet? I mean, what would happen to these diets? Like, you know, people are celiacs or whatever they're called, or maybe they've got a nut allergy, or because nuts are good to keep, you know, they're full of protein and they keep for a couple of weeks. So nuts are good to keep in, but obviously not if anyone in your family have got a nut allergy. You know, if you're a woman or a man, because men these days look after their skin so much more, I think you've got to get your moisturising creams in your toiletries. Make sure you've got shower gel, not that maybe you'll be able to have a shower, but you'll be able to have a wash, baby wipes. If you're a man or a woman, depending if you want to shave anything, if you're gypsy, remember Gypsy Rose. Make sure you got your razors in, because if you can't, you know, you can't get your lady shave working. So make sure you got, for men as well, if you want to shave or just let it grow. I mean, I don't know, maybe you'll just decide to grow your beard or whatever. But so those are things, because you won't be able to use your electric shavers. So yeah, if you can, grow veg or herbs in your garden or on your patio, candles, torches, pet food, tinned food, loo roll, of course. Loo roll is like, you know, it's like an essential, isn't it? Make sure you got some cash. Oh, something else. One prepper I was watching was talking about, you know, if you had to be a long time, you know, what are these like superfoods that you could eat? And he was talking about that quinoa. I don't know if you've ever tried it. It's revolting. I won't be getting any quinoa in, that's for sure. They can, you know, off. But rice, of course, maybe, or couscous. Couscous is a good one because it cooks really quick. You literally, couscous, you could just put it in the hot water. You don't even have to boil it up. And it cooks, you know, it's ready to eat. So couscous is good. Honey. So honey is good as a natural sweetener, but also it's good for you. And of course, if you take sugar in your tea, or you need to get your sugar in, I don't take sugar, I use saccharin, so I have to make sure I've got some saccharins in. Whatever medication you need, if you're on any tablets, as we mentioned before, and then you've got just your day-to-day sort of medication like aspirins, ibuprofen, you know, whatever you use for headaches or etc. Savlon, creams, etc. Maybe you have, I don't know, if you've got any arthritis or whether maybe you have cream for your what's it, you know, for your joints or whatever. All those things you need to think about. Also, yeah, somebody was mentioning lentils, any dried food, you know, because you can just put it in the water and soak it before you cook it. But I wouldn't recommend quinoa because it's disgusting. So salt and pepper though, and things like that, because, you know, if you need to season your food. because otherwise it's not very nice, is it? Maybe stock cubes. Stock cubes are good, aren't they? Because they're cheap and they keep for ages. So you could get in a couple of boxes of stock cubes. A first aid kit, ibuprofen, etc. So yeah, powdered milk, UHT milk. I mean, I always drink UHT milk anyway. It's very rare that I get fresh milk in. And years ago, when I lived alone, I remember having skim milk when I lived in Reading, you know, powdered milk, because otherwise the milk just used to go off because it was only me using it. And skim milk is good. There's lots of nice skim milks that you can buy. Things like Coffee Mate and stuff like that, you know, are handy. Tea bags, coffee, pasta, noodles, things that are quick cooking, obviously. Baby supplies if you need them, board games if you've got children to entertain. I'm just thinking, you know, it must have been awful, you know, trying to, well, I know a lot of my family in Manchester, you know, they've got young kids. My nieces and nephews have got young kids, trying to entertain them, you know, and make them settle down to homeschool. And it's just a nightmare for them, you know, bless them, because them kids just wanted to go out and play football or do the things that they'd been doing before. Oh, and now when I think about them, now one of my nieces in particular, she's got twin boys. I think they're about 11 or 12 now. So she'll be thinking, oh my God, have they got, well, she won't be voting bloody Tory anyway, but so they've gone through COVID and all that they've gone through. And now they've got to think that maybe when they get to 18, they might have to do, I'll tell you what, bet Rishi Sunak's daughters won't be doing that national service. Yes, you've got to entertain the kids, so maybe you need to keep football, or board games or games that you can play indoors. Again, depends how much space you've got. I mean, I'm lucky with the garage downstairs, the basement where I do my classes. It's a very big space, you know, so I take the dogs down there quite often and exercise them down there, you know, throw the ball around for them. It's a massive space, but I suppose it depends what space you've got, or if you've got a garden. Some people haven't got a garden. So yeah, stock your car up, or, you know, just with basic things to make sure, just in case your car could break down in the middle of nowhere. When I broke down, oh God, when I was going to northern Spain a couple of years ago, and I had a flat tire on the motorway, and my God, and it was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It was August. It was boiling. And we had to wait an hour. It was just me and the two dogs. I had to wait an hour for someone to come to change the tyre. It was so hot, but you know what? Luckily, I had done a bit of prepping, you know, and in the back of the car, I had two things of water, like 6 bottles of water, 2 packs of 6 big, these size bottles of water that I was taking with me. Thank God I had that, because, you know, we went through quite a lot of that water waiting at, you know, at the side of the road for the person to come to change the tyre. So yeah, it's important. These, you've got to think about it. If you're going on a long journey and it's hot or cold, you've got to, depends on the situation, doesn't it? Where am I? Fire lighters, yeah, charcoal that I was talking about for the barbecue. Now, one of the prepping things I was watching was talking about berries, because they're apparently a superfood. So sometimes berries just grow, don't they? Like sort of in the woods and what have you. So I suppose, or would you have canned berries? There's no point in having frozen berries, really, because if you had no electricity, they'd defrost and they'd go off. So I don't know how you'd manage berries, really. But yes, salt, pepper, oil, of course, margarine or butter, whichever one you use. So I don't know what you do for bread. You know, bread doesn't keep that long, does it? I suppose if you kept a bit of bread in your freezer when the electric went off, it'd take a, you know, it'd still be good for, well, it'd certainly be good for a week, wouldn't it? But yeah, you know, I suppose if you were looking like a lot for a longer time that you had no, you'd be looking at making bread, wouldn't you? But I couldn't be bothered with that. Just do without bread. You get crackers in and crisp breads and things like that. They'll keep for ages. Again, depending on the size of your property and what have you, maybe a generator. A lot of people here in Spain have generators because they've got problems with electricity. Like if they live in sort of remote places in the campo, out in the sticks, a lot of people have generators. So that might be something. Oh, does a generator need electricity to work? I have no idea how a generator works. No, I don't think it does. Yeah, we talked about weapons. So, you know, most of the places we come from, you know, I know, well, unless you live in America, it's not easy to get hold of guns and things, but you could have other sorts of weapons. What have I else? Oh, God, I can't read that. What have I written there? Oh, toiletries. Yeah, toiletries. That I was saying, your shampoo and stuff like that. You know, you've got to make sure you keep clean at least. A good idea is that I've got a DVD player in a cupboard over there, and I've got loads of DVDs. I'll never throw them away because they would come in handy. Oh no, I couldn't play DVDs if I didn't have electricity, though, could I? Oh, I don't know. Oh no, you couldn't. So anyway, forget that. Bug out bag I've talked about. Get home. Oh, somebody was talking about a bug out bus. That guy, that wolf on there, he's got a bug out bus. In other words, he's got, you know, we talk about a bug out bag if you just had to take a bag and leave home. But he's got a bug out bus, so he's got like, you know, an actual van or something all equipped with all his stuff. So, yeah, books, glasses, I was saying, to read your books in bad light, duct tape, just in case you wanted to murder somebody. So let's see, is there anything else that I've missed off my list? Radio, vitamin tablets. Oh, peanut butter, one of these preppers that I was watching was saying peanut butter is a good thing to have in because it's full of nutrients, just in case you were a long time without being able to get back to normal. Yeah, obviously pasta, nuts. Don't forget your lighters and things, you know, lighters, matches, plastic bags, you know, zip bags like I have the ones from IKEA. They're handy to put stuff in. Black bags, bin bags, cleaning supplies. I've mentioned about female products if you've got women in your house that need them. Nappies if you've got babies in the house. And oh, and something else, you know, because you couldn't keep potatoes really, could you? But what about, you know, packets of mashed potato that you just had to add water to? They'd be handy, wouldn't they? Soups, high blank faces. Yeah, alcohol. Do you know, I think IKEA won't be open. No, you've got to get them in beforehand. We're prepping, Ali. I know you can't go out and buy them from IKEA once it happens, but you can make sure you've got them in. I've got loads of them in, to be honest. Yeah, if you like alcohol, yeah, need to get some alcohol in, really, because you'll get bored. You know, when you get bored, you'll be wanting to have a little drinky or something. Or maybe that's the time to go teetotal. I don't know. Personally, if it's going to be the end of the world, I would definitely want some alcohol. You know, so Charlie's got beer. Yeah, beer and nuts. He's supposed to be roughing it. Oh, dear me. So, you know, those are all the various things. Now, I'm going to show, I think that's it for my notes. I had another video that I wanted to show you. So there's loads of prepping sites on YouTube, loads. absolutely loads. But this is one I came across that I thought was quite good. And this is Alaska Granny. And her latest video, DIY Disaster Catastrophe Essentials. Let's have a little look at it. I think if you live somewhere like Alaska, you've got to be really, or if you live in a remote place, you've got to be prepared.
We're not putting it off any longer. Here is a cheap and easy emergency kit. If you haven't put together an emergency bug out bag, grab and go, 72-hour kit, something, the bag that can include emergency gear, we're going to do that today. You can fill up your emergency bag with things you probably already have around the house. Look through your kids' old backpacks. Do you have an old shopping bag? It doesn't matter what you put it in. It's did you put things in it that you...
Yeah, that's interesting, because I was thinking, I haven't really got a bag to fit, but I've got quite a lot of these shopping for life bags or whatever they're called. So I've got loads of them. So I could just put one of them together.
Have your things together so that you can bug out if you need to. You can keep it in your car, keep it next to the door. Anything can happen at a moment's notice, and we need to be prepared to deal with the challenges that life throws at us. Whatever your container is, I think a backpack is preferable in case I have to put it on and walk around. But even if I can't, I can use a shopping bag. You get the idea. Get something. The container isn't what's important. It's that you have content that you can make your life easier. The number one thing you need in your...
Yeah, I'm just wondering where I would put it, because really it needs to be near the door, obviously, doesn't it? Just because you literally, that's why it's called a grab and go, isn't it? Because literally it could be, whatever the emergency is. The whole idea of it is that you've just got to go. So it's where to keep it, really, because it get on my nerves if it's just looking at me every day, and it could go on for years.
Your emergency kit is water. We need water to stay alive. Probably you can't fit 3 days worth of water or 3 gallons into your container, but get some kind of bottle. You probably already have one in your kitchen somewhere that you can fill it up yourself. And now you have your emergency water ready to go. Then be thinking, where could I refill it when I needed to? Look around your house.
Yeah, so that's it. You can't, how much, because water is heavy, isn't it? So, probably one of these bottles is pretty heavy. So you won't be able to take much more than that. But at least if you've got a bottle or one of those type bottles she was showing, you can fill it up any opportunity that you get. And that's what you'd have to do. But you can't take bottles and bottles of water because it's too heavy.
House, do you have a way to filter water? If not, put that at the top of your list that you need to order something.
What's that?
Water ready to go. Then be thinking, where could I refill it when I needed to? Look around your house. Do you have a way to filter water? If not, put that at the top of your list that you need to order something, that you need to buy something like that, so that you have a way to provide clean drinking water.
So a water filter, well, you even need that in the UK just in normal life now, don't you? So, even if you're at home and there's no emergency, you need a water filter.
Next, let's think about food. Go into your pantry, grab some cans of already ready-to-eat meals that you can just open and eat. Soup, chili, beef stew. Try to find that your cans have pull tabs. In case they don't, look in your kitchen cabinet. Do you have some extra can opener that you could put in there? They also make little military can openers for emergencies. Maybe you had them if you were a scout, and I'll put a link to those on how to use them if you want to figure out how to use the P38 or the P51. Grab an orphan spoon. It's better to have a metal spoon than a plastic one. You don't worry about it breaking, and you can continue to use it. Next, look over what are some...
Yeah, you won't think, would you? A spoon, yeah, of course, just in case you've got to stop somewhere and eat though I suppose you could drink it out the can, but it won't be very nice.
Just tear open and eat foods that you can have. because cans of food are heavy. Maybe you want pouches of meat, a box of pepperoni, beef jerky. Foods like that are so simple to tear open and eat. How about a box of granola bars? You can find foods like trail mixes, dried fruits, nuts, packages of things like chicken salad with crackers. And then you can always even just drop in a jar of peanut butter.
Oh, peanut butter seems to be very popular. But yeah, God, she's taking the whole larder with her, isn't she? I don't think you'd fit all that in one bag.
You can use your spoon to scoop it up. You can get some calories, some protein, and get full and get going again. That's the whole point of foods that you can tear open and eat that can help keep you fed and keep you going.
The trouble is now I'm watching something, what happens with the dogs? You know, where not only you've got to put all that in for you, and you need one bag for every person, I suppose, but then what are you going to do about the dogs?
Doesn't matter what the food is, something that you can eat without any preparation. Look through your pantry and your cupboards. You probably already have some open and eat foods that you could stick into your emergency kit. Grab a roll of toilet paper, stick it in a Ziploc bag. Then it's going to stay clean and dry, and you'll be able to, whatever goes in needs to come out. You'll be able to handle that in a sanitary way. Next, think about a few hygiene supplies, a bar of soap, a hairbrush, a toothbrush, some toothpaste, some floss, and grab a small first aid kit. If you don't have a small portable...
Again, you see, you can get all these travel kits now, can't you? Just imagine that you're going on a flight with Ryanair and prepare for that. So you've got all your little containers of your shampoo and your shower gel, soap, etc. You know, there are lots of things that you can get hold of now that are small, because you're hopefully not planning to be sort of like forever. This is just for a few days, hopefully.
First aid kit, grab a Ziploc bag, add some Band-Aids, some gauze, tape, antibiotic cream, chapstick, add some things into it so that you will have something that you can put in your emergency kit. Look around your home. Do you have an extra flashlight, an extra pack of batteries? Put that in your kit. A lot of emergencies might happen at night or require us to be away overnight, and then you'll be able to have light in an emergency. Even if just the power goes out, you can grab those items out of your emergency kit. You could also get some emergency candles, a pack of matches, and then you'll have some light if you need to in an emergency, but you need to be extra careful. If you're burning a candle, you want to put it on a sturdy, non-flammable base, then protect that flame so that it can't be knocked over by small children or your pets.
Oh, she just mentioned pets then, but she hasn't actually mentioned anything about pets. Food going in there. This is going to be a bloody big bag, that's for sure.
About a toolkit, what can you have? Do you have a small pocket knife? This one has things.
A toolkit? My gosh.
It's like a toothpick and a screwdriver. Maybe you'll have one that has a carabiner. It has a nice bigger blade, has some screwdrivers on it. What about a multi-tool? I found multi-tools to be the most useful. I pick them up at Cabela's, and they have little pliers, and then there's all kinds of little gizmos and gadgets on the handle.
There you go. You know, sometimes you get things like that in crackers at Christmas, don't you? But they are handy. They are handy.
That can help you with all kinds of tasks that you might need to do in any kind of an emergency situation. Do you have a little coin purse? Could you fill it up with some bills? Make sure that you have small bills so that if you say need to buy a bottle of water, you can peel off some ones or fives or a 10. You don't have to just peel off $20 bills. So take the time to go beyond the ATM, go into the bank and break those 20s into smaller bills so that you'll have more options with your cash. Look at
But where are you going to buy a bottle of water if it's the end of the world?
In your closet. Grab an extra jacket, a sweatshirt, something that can keep you warm in an emergency. It's easier this time of year because we're going into spring and summer. We don't need a heavy winter coat, because if you did, then you're going to probably need a bigger bag than just a dollar store backpack or a shopping bag.
Just reminded me of Jaws then, when they said, I think you're going to need a bigger boat. I think she's going to need a bigger bag, definitely. But yeah, you've got to think about this. But how would you know what time of year it was going to happen? You know, how would you know? You'd have to keep changing it for the seasons. Because, yeah, what you'd need to take in the winter is different from what you'd be taking in the spring or summer.
But figure out, what is the climate? What are you protecting yourself from? Grab a big plastic garbage bag. There are so many ways that you can use a big, large, black plastic trash or garbage bag for emergency situations. You can
Yeah, but you wouldn't just take one. You'd take a roll of them. A roll of them wouldn't be any bigger than that.
turn it into a poncho. You can turn it into an emergency shelter. You can wrap up and stay dry if it's raining. There are so many uses for a black plastic bag. Put one of these straight into your
You definitely need more than one. You need a roll of them.
emergency kit. Add a few rubber bands so you have some options of how to hook it up, how to manage it, and there you go. You're going to be way ahead if you have a black plastic.
Now, I'm surprised she hasn't mentioned scissors yet, because you definitely need scissors. You know, you could put a little pair of scissors in there. The scissors are very useful.
Plastic bag. Then keep looking around. Do you have a roll of duct tape? Some
Oh my
gloves?
God.
There are lots of things that
It's like the magic bag, this, all the things that she's putting in it. Bloody hell.
you can keep adding into your kit. But this is as far as I'm going to take it today.
Yeah, Mary
Look over
Poppins
these
bag.
options of items that you could quick and easy, not expensive, put into an emergency kit so that you're better prepared for the challenges ahead. Write down a list of your emergency contacts, the phone numbers, addresses, the email things, the contacts that you need for your family members, your
Yeah, that's a good idea, because, of course, once your phone runs out of charge or whatever, you know, everything's in your phone. So it's a good idea to write out a list of phone numbers, contacts, addresses, maybe, you know, even phone numbers of emergency services or addresses that, you know, I don't know how you'd find your way there, like, because you can't just go onto your sat nav or whatever, or your Google Maps, and find your way to wherever it is you're going to go. But it's always handy to have all those contact numbers separate.
employer, your healthcare information, your children's school and daycare workers. Write those down. Put them with your emergency gear, because if your phone stops working, you're going to still be able to have that information with you. Leave it in the comments below. What are some other items that you think we would want to take with us in an emergency? We want to limit the amount of things that we take for really useful items. So
limit them. I don't think you've really limited them. Scissors, that's what you've forgotten, Alaska Granny. Definitely. Anyway, I'll be putting together a bag.
That we don't
Video
weigh ourselves down with too much, that it becomes too cumbersome, too heavy, too much stuff that we can't manage it. So really think about what is vital and important, and how can you have it in a smaller.
I think you need a towel as well, don't you? A towel, just a little towel, maybe a hand towel. You don't need a great big bath towel or whatever. But I think you do need a towel, or a towel will always come in useful. Anyway.
Size, but you want to cover all of the areas that are really important to keeping you alive and safe. I hope you'll like my video, share it with someone else you think might need to know this information, and please subscribe to the Alaska Granny channel.
Oh, I think it was a nice video, and I think it's interesting and useful. What do you think? I'm sure you'll all let me know in comments what you think. I think it's important. I mean, we've got to be careful of not getting too carried away, because at the end of the day, you know, you know, we can't prepare for every eventuality. But I do think if we feel like we're in control, if we feel like we're in control in some small way, it does make us feel better. It does assuage anxiety. Now, I'm going to just we're going to look at this website now. So this is, what is this? What is this? What is this? So this is the Beginner's Prepper's Guide, Prepping for Beginners. Do you want to be better prepared for emergencies but aren't sure where to start? Well, I think we've gone through quite a few things for starters. I can see my basement's going to end up like, all I'll need is a load of guns. I've just got to work out how to get the guns from, and then my house is going to end up like one of these places. So this is the Preppers for Beginners. So let's see. Whether you're worried about sudden layoff, home invasions, car accidents, the power going out for a week, natural disasters, or long-term economic and societal decline, it's critical that you start getting prepared now. So millions of rational people from all walks of life are taking preparedness seriously, and the movement is growing. So it can seem overwhelming. Yeah, it bloody does. And there's a load of, according to this, there's a lot of crazy, loud minority junk out there that pollutes rational preparedness with extremism, dangerous info, or silly internet debates that don't matter. Oh, yeah, you're not getting into an internet debate about it. You just either do it or don't do it. So, basic steps to prepping. Build a solid personal finance and health foundation. Get your home ready for 2 weeks of self-reliance. Be able to leave your home with a moment's notice, bug out bags. Prepare for emergencies that happen away from your home. Get home bags and everyday carry. Learn core skills and practice with your gear. And share and recruit while continuing to learn and going beyond the basics. Now that looks very interesting. I'm not going to go into all this because, you know, I've been on for a while now, but it's very interesting about this is interesting. So don't buy off the shelf kits because 98% of them are not worth buying. You can't predict when an emergency will happen. So a good prep is always ready. A good prepper is always ready. Stay realistic and practical. Avoid zombie and Rambo fantasies. Focus on the things that matter most. And remember that simpler is better. Don't let it overwhelm or defeat you. So anyway, looks interesting, but I haven't really got time to go through that. But I think for me, I would be, if I could stay at home, I would rather stay at home. I would rather stay at home and, you know, take whatever's coming, just hunker down and then hope that things passed over. You know, the thought of being on the road, especially with the animals and everything, it's an awful thought, isn't it, really? Anyway, that looks a very interesting website, but I just haven't got time to go through it now. Was there anything else I wanted to show you? Oh, yeah, look at this. This is interesting. How to start prepping in the UK. Don't panic. Don't panic against the backdrop of forest fires. Oh, God. Well, see, it could be an earthquake. It could be a tsunami. You just don't know where it's going to be when it happens or if it happens. But it feels like there's never been a more important time for a beginner's guide to prepping in the UK. Something to show that getting started with disaster prep isn't impossible, doesn't have to devour your normal life, and doesn't mean becoming a bunker dwelling Rambo type. That's what I'm going to become. If you just want to skip to the info, there's a content section below with links to each section of this article. Thanks for your support and good luck out there. But don't panic. Don't panic. Anyway, again, this looks like a very, very interesting. I've never heard this. It looks like an interesting website, but I haven't got time to go through it all. But this bug out is an expression that I'd never heard before. Now suddenly I know exactly what a bug out bag is or whatever. Oh, find the freshwater sources in your area. Work on a rain catchment system. Oh my God, well, if I had to rely on a rain catchment system, we have 360 days of rain-free days in Spain every year, so I'd be waiting a long time. But in the UK, though, it's true, in countries that do get a lot of rain, that's what you should do. You should collect rainwater or have a system. You're allowed to collect rainwater in the UK. Oh my God. Well, I'm surprised they haven't put a tax on that yet. Bloody hell. But yeah, a water bus, that's a good idea actually for the UK. I mean, we do get rain here sometimes, so I suppose you could do it, but it just rains so infrequently. You can't rely on that. You've got to find some other alternative. But yeah, that's interesting. You could do that in the UK. You wouldn't have a problem with water, that's for sure. If you're in the UK, water would not be your problem. Anyway, that's another good website to look at. But I'll be definitely doing some more. Sorry, I'm just reading it as I'm thinking. I'm like, pick up a few spare duvets to put them up across your window and doors if you've got no heating. That's a good idea. Rain ponchos. Make your house harder to break into. Yeah. Okay. I think my voice is going, so I don't think I can read out anymore. But yeah, very interesting. I will definitely be doing more videos about this. But what I will probably do is break it into smaller, like smaller sort of videos, like a bug out bag, what to put in it. And I am going to make one for me. So when I've made it, I'll show you it. And then, you can... tell me if you've got one or not. My voice is definitely going now. So yes, please remember to like. Put your DNA on the like button, thumbs up. I'll be back tomorrow, I expect. Maybe going back to some true crime, see what's going on. Anyway, we'll see what's going on. I'm sure there'll be something to report about the election. And I will be thinking about what I'm going to put in my bug out bag in the meantime. So don't have nightmares, though. Remember that this prepping, I think it's a brilliant idea, to be honest. And I do think you do feel better when you've got everything, you've got, we have to get water in anyway. We get water in all the time. So, but it's always feels better when you've got that bit extra in, doesn't it? When that, and if you just even keep to that, just instead of waiting until you've got nothing left before you do your shopping, maybe just trying to be ahead of it. You don't have to go mad, so, yeah, it is a nice change from the crime. We get a bit crimed out sometimes, even though we're interested in true crime, obviously, but we do get a bit crimed out sometimes. So remember to live and love wisely, carefully. Thank you so much for watching. There's been a lot of you watching, chatting, hello to you at home who don't join in the chat, and hello to the replay crew, because people will watch this on replay as well. Let me know, as always, any comments. Put your comments. What do you think? What do you think should go in these prepping packs, or you should always keep in at home just in case? You know, or maybe you already do it. So let me know, and I'll see you really soon in the next video. And until then, may your God, of course, as always, go with you. So, bye.